バトラ君が何を考えてるか、おばさんわかるわよ。
How's it going, everyone? My name is Michael SK, and welcome back to Umineko When They Cry. Yeah, the previous night sure was fun. Sure weren't a bunch of people dying overnight, and we found out this morning definitely not that going on. But no, I'm wrong. Yeah, that totally went down. It's still kind of crazy. I'm still kind of absorbing that actually happened. And we are now left with a bit of a murder mystery on our hands. We cannot get in touch with the police. We can't get in touch with anybody. We are truly in our own little world here, and there is a murderer among us somewhere. So now we're pointing fingers at one another, or at least I think that's the direction that we're heading in. Ava is most definitely not helping, as she is now talking to Battler and definitely cementing some ideas in his head of, you know, the servants may be, you know, those that we need to watch out for because of the whole idea with the key to the garden storehouse being, well, there's only one key, and only the servants would know which one it is among all the keys in the servant room. There's some other stuff, I'm sure, but I think that's the direction we're going in, is that now we're just going to point fingers at each other, and we're going to sort of lose focus. That's sort of what I'm thinking here, and that's just going to create a whole bunch of chaos.
What?
Yeah, I also have no idea what I have no idea what is on Battler's mind or what he's thinking specifically. I think what may have came up at the end, and it's something that I was talking about quite a bit in the previous video, I would say, is that Ava and Hideyoshi, along with George, pretty much got away from last night's killing spree scot-free. Everybody lost somebody. George technically lost somebody, but Ava and Hideyoshi, they're really fine compared to everybody else.
私がこの殺人で一番得をする。どうせ疑われるだろうから、先に自己申告しておくわ。
You can't self-report. I tried to dodge the issue by joking around, but apparently it didn't work.
遺産は兄弟の数で分割する。でも今や4兄弟は私一人。
Wait, for real? Is that actually... Wait. Yeah, wait a minute. Hold on now. That's true, isn't it? Is that something I just completely overlooked? Yeah, it is. Holy crap. Okay. Wow, I did not even think of that. Okay. Whoopsies.
後ろ宮家の全財産はすべて私のものになるの。
秀吉おじさんが聞いたら、予算か言えばシャレにならんっていうところ。
That sounds like him. That really does sound like Hideyoshi.
ごめんね。どう取り繕ったってどうせ疑われるだろうからふざけただけよ。だからこの殺人は私の立場から見れば。私を疑わせるためのものではないかと思ってるの。
Again, not really sure, you know, how those that were targeted last night came to be. I want to stand by my prediction that they were targeted because they were still awake.
困ったことに、夕べのアリバイは弱いわ。
聞かせてもらってもいいですか？夕べのことを。
バトラ君たちも知っている通り。兄弟が遺産をどう食いちぎり合うかという話し合いは深夜まで続いたわ。
And again, very happy that we didn't have to go through all of that again. It really did seem like they were just constantly going over and over what we had already heard.
でも何時まで
So
続
as
いた
long as
か
we
は
get
知
an
らない。
idea, you know, that's fine by me.
私と主人は朝が早かったからね。もう眠くて24時を過ぎたあたりで抜けさせてもらったの。
But everybody else stayed.
そしてゲストハウスに戻って休んだわ。
それを秀吉おじさん以外の誰かに証明できるっすか？いやいや、別にエヴァおばさんを疑ってるわけじゃないっすよ。
No, it's totally fine to get some alibis straight here.
あら、どうだか。証明になるかわからないけれど、ゲストハウスに戻ってきたとき、源氏さんに出迎えを受けてタオルはいるかと聞かれたわ。
No, that is actually pretty big, so I think we should ask Genji about that.
だから私たちがゲストハウスに戻ってきた時間は24時過ぎだと証明してくれると思うわよ。
Though Genji was supposed to be getting some rest.
もっとも、 私の仮説通り、遺産目当てだったなら、こんな変な殺人はしないわよ。
Yeah, because pretty much everybody will be pointing their fingers at you.
だって、遺産相続権を喪失させるだけなら、どんな死に方だって構わない。むしろ事故死に見せかけた方がスマートでしょ。
Yeah, and this is definitely not that.
使用人たちを
But hey,
抱き込
glad
ん
you're
で周
admitting
到
that,
に
I
計画
guess.
していたなら、なおさらそうするでしょうよ。
確かにそうっすね。営利で人を殺すなら、それは常に殺人に見せるべきではない。
Okay, so I want to stand by the fact that I don't think that shoot, I don't know. How do I want to word this? What are my predictions? I'm still trying to think all of this over because this seems like a huge moment here in the early parts of the story.
そういうことよ。
I don't want to say that it's any of the family members, especially any of the siblings. And we have one more left, but I don't think it was anybody or their partners. I don't think it was any of the kids. Kinzo, I don't know about Kinzo. Kinzo's weird. Servants, I also don't know, but I don't want to suspect them either. Kumasawa's definitely not capable. I don't think Genji would do this. Kanon, I don't think he would do it either. Why would he kill somebody that he saw as his sister? So there's a lot of weirdness into thinking that there is somebody among the 18 that were residing in this mansion or guest house that committed these murders. I want to say that it may have been somebody on the outside, which or not.
だからおばさんは今からとてもブルーな気持ちなわけ。警察には黒幕扱いされて散々調べられるでしょうね。やだやだ。
Aunt Ava shrugged with a bitter smile. It was just as easy to suspect Aunt Ava as it was to suspect the servants. So if we spin the chessboard around, does that make it impossible for the culprit to be her, suspicious as she is? However, if that sort of argument always works, then motive can never help us in any way. No, that can't be right. Knowing the motive must give us powerful clues towards knowing the culprit. That's why murderers from all time periods disguise crimes in complicated ways, cleverly preventing their motives from being discovered. I don't get it. I just don't get it. Every time I spin the chessboard around, it keeps flipping from front to back and back to front. Are my thoughts bringing me closer to the truth? Or are they... Honestly, I feel like I'm nowhere near the truth. And I think it's going to remain that way for a long time. Aunt Ava didn't want to talk any more than that, so I folded my arms and headed to the window to cool my head a little. As I looked over the parlor, I saw George, Aniki, and the others gathered, talking. It looked like they were talking about the magic circle that had been painted onto the shutter. Painted with blood, perhaps. As Uncle Hideyoshi thought back to that time, he started drawing the shape in the margins of Maria's notebook. I see. Since Maria was second only to grandfather in knowledge of the occult, she might understand what it meant. Okay, we need to actually bring back something from the previous recording. It is Maria, her reaction to everything. So she definitely did not have the normal reaction that we would see from a 9-year-old that just got told that her mother died with 5 other family members and people that worked here at the mansion. No, she took that very calmly and just completely understood. And she said something, but it was censored. So I think that's because Battler did not properly hear her. Everyone was staring down at the shape, so I stared down at it too. Yep, there it is. I was thinking of pulling it up on my phone or something to look at it, but honestly, I really just don't think there's anything for me to gain from it. It is a very strange looking sign, and I feel like I've seen this somewhere before, but probably not in the right context and not with all these added characters or whatever you want to call them. From what I had heard, this had been painted on the shutter to the storehouse with some material that looked like blood. I see. This sure is unsettling. Very much so, honestly. Jessica's voice contained impatience and anger. She hadn't gone so far as to say grandfather was the culprit, but she seemed sure that grandfather knew something about the culprit's background, Of course, if you were searching for a link connecting the Ushiromiya family to the occult, 10 out of 10 people would think of grandfather. Oh yeah, definitely. Also, to a person who knew nothing of the occult, this strange mark would have no meaning, which meant that this might have been something addressed to grandfather. That's an interesting way of looking at it, actually. That's right. And the reason the crime was shown to the survivors was so they would find this. In that case, where had grandfather, the essential recipient of this message, disappeared off to?
こんな図形に何か心当たりはあるかい?
And a huge reminder that yes, there was some red substance or whatever on the door to Natsuhi's room and a whole bunch of blood in the dining room. All right, let's see what Maria has to say. Besides that, Maria looked at the shape of the serious face. Maybe she was enthusiastic because this was her area of expertise. However, her appearance was that of someone separated from the events at hand, as though this thing hadn't been drawn on the shutter closed around her mother's corpse.
僕の第一印象では
Yes,
どこか外国の
that's it.
十字章に似たデザイン
That
だ
is
なっ
it.
て思ったから。
That's what I was thinking, but the context isn't right. Like, why would that be here? I don't think that's correct. And plus, these symbols, and I think the outer circles do not match it.
ああ、確かにこんなデザインや。ということはどこぞの国と何か関係があるんか?
I couldn't think of the region, but I was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure this, like, has some sort of connection to a country.
つまりこの魔法陣には宗教的な意味があるってことかよ。ますますにちんぷんかんぷんだぜ。
Hey, but you can somewhat connect religion to the occult. Kind of. I don't mean to offend. Please don't hurt me. When I looked over at all of them preparing to jump into the discussion, something shocked me. What? The rain? Okay. What the fuck? All right. Maria was smiling, an eerie and incomprehensible expression on her face. It was almost as if she was making fun of everyone's ignorance. Hey, people do that to me all the time. It's pretty cool. It was an expression I would not have dreamed to find on Maria's face. Ugh. And she laughed. That eerie, jarring laugh was something I didn't want to believe was possible, even though I was looking at it right in front of my eyes. What the fuck is wrong with her? Hey, yo, wait a minute. Look at the silhouette in her eyes. Oh, Jesus Christ! Fuck! Ah, okay. Thanks. Thanks, game. Cool. All right.
全然違うよみんな。
Ah. Can I go back to recording, like, funny rom-com visual novels or some shit?
こんなの見てわかんないかな。
It's a lot of laughing for like 3 lines of dialogue. While everyone was busy being scared out of their wits, Maria kept on cackling happily by herself. After a while, that laugh was suddenly and abruptly cut off. But her expression still looked like it belonged to someone completely different from Maria.
これは太陽の7の魔法陣だよ。
The what?
書かれてる文字はヘブライ語。貸して。
Also, her way of speech, completely different now. Absolutely, completely different. Exactly as we heard it whenever she was reading the letter from Beatrice. And I think similarly to how she was talking in the previous video as well. Maria stole the writing materials from the stunned Hideyoshi's hand. She then started drawing another magic circle with a rustle right next to the one Hideyoshi had drawn.
ね、こんな図形だったんじゃないかな。
そんな図形だった。
マリア、すごいな。さすが詳しいぜ。
Yeah. Jessica tried to smooth things over by praising Maria. Maybe she wanted to confirm that this was still the Maria that we all knew so well. I don't know. Like, I'm sure that Maria is still present and always has been, but so has this one. who now gets her time to shine. I don't know. This is weird. This is just odd. But Maria did not answer in any way in particular. Maria began swiftly writing unfamiliar characters in the corners of the shape. When Uncle Hideyoshi and Dr. Nanjo saw them, their eyes immediately began to open wide.
天地と左右に書かれているのは風化水道を司る天使たちの名。カサン、アレル、タリアハド、そしてフォルラク。そして斜め四方には4代の統治者たちの名。アリエル、セラフ、タルシス、ケルブ。合ってる？
Yeah, maybe. I'm gonna say yes. Even if they hadn't been able to correctly write what they had seen, when they were once again shown something identical, it wasn't difficult for them to realize the two were the same. When Maria asked them whether it matched, Uncle Hideyoshi and Dr. Nanjo nodded over and over again.
間違いない。そうや。確かにこんな文字が書かれとった。なんでこんなん書けるんや。あと、演習部にも文字。
わかってるよ。こうでしょ？
Maria quickly began to surround the circumference with more Hebrew writing.
旧約聖書の詩編第116編の16節と17節だよ。
Oh yeah? What did those ones say?
聖書くらい読んでなきゃ。
I didn't, so could I get told what those ones said? Acting as though knowing this was only common sense, Maria laughed. For a while, everyone, including me, was at a loss for words. A little later, George Aniki returned to his senses and slowly managed to speak.
すごいね。驚いたよ。それで、この魔法陣にはどんな意味があるんだい？
太陽の力を借りる魔法陣だよ。
Okay.
黄金で描き、護符にして身につけたる者はいかなる牢獄であろうとも、束縛から逃れ、自由を得られる力を授けられる。
I have zero idea how to tie that in with anything of what's been going on.
束縛から逃れ自由を得られる意味深だぜ。
Unless this has to do with Beatrice, and that she is no longer bound and she's free?
この束縛という意味は何も肉体的なものだけを指さないと解釈されている。だから縛られて牢屋にいる人ばかりに意味があるわけじゃないよ。しがらみや逃れ得ぬ運命など精神的な束縛からの解放も意味してるんだよ。
しがらみや逃れ得ぬ運命。これまた意味深だな。
Yeah, it's way beyond me.
しかしさっぱりわからん。それとあの6人の遺体とどんな関係があるっちゅうんや。束縛からの解放どころか殺された上に倉庫に閉じ込められてたんやで。
別にその6人のために魔法陣が描かれてるわけじゃないね。
Then why was it drawn?
魔法陣のために6人はそこにいるんでしょう。お気の毒だよ。
どういう意味だい？魔法陣のために6人がいるってのは一体。
I find it so strange that nobody is questioning the way that she's speaking and what she's saying here. She basically just insulted everybody. Maria lifted up her pointer finger and waggled it as if she were making fun of us.
それは演習部に書いてるよ。読めないかな。詩編第116編16節と17節。
Which say,
読んであげるよ。
thank you.
主は私の枷を解かれました。私はあなたに感謝の生贄を捧げ、主の皆を呼ぶでしょう。
Well, there's our key word of sacrifice.
ねって何を言ってるのかさっぱりだぜ。
Same here.
生贄だってのか。
Damn, we get Maria without saying ooh, 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 and whatever else. But in, I guess, response to that, we also get scary, very knowledgeable Maria. Like, no child would have this knowledge. I do feel like there is something else in there besides the Maria that we know. If what Maria had just read aloud was a vital part of the magic circle, then it was saying that sacrifices had to be offered in order for this magic circle to be effective. So human sacrifices had been offered inside the storehouse, where the magic circle had been drawn. Okay, now I'm following that idea. A heartbeat later, everyone else seemed to reach the same conclusion. Some people were shocked and others spat out that this was insane as they punched their knees. This was starting to get incredibly disturbing. Oh, it was never disturbing to begin with? And we couldn't accept it or understand it. I don't care what kind of magic circles or curses other people believe in. I won't pick a fight with them. But did they really kill Dad and the rest as sacrifices for crap like that? I just couldn't stand that feeling. And I understand that frustration, actually, because, you know, here in the real world, where there's no ghosts or magic or anything, as far as I can tell, you know, if people were sacrificed for this, like if you were told like, oh yeah, we had to sacrifice some family members of yours because, you know, it's going to bring us great fortune or whatever, you'd be fucking pissed. There's no great fortune that's going to come of just killing people, right? No way. Compared to this, I preferred it when we were still disgusted by that theory about the fight over the inheritance. As I started getting pissed off with a feeling between anger and sadness, I broke from the circle everyone was in and returned once again to the window. Something had gone insane since yesterday. There was that letter from the witch Beatrice that Maria had read aloud at last night's dinner. Ever since that point, it feels like we have been... No. Like this whole mansion and this whole island have been getting more and more firmly locked inside some kind of bizarre world. That's right. When I think back on it, that letter was an invitation from the witch. The ruler of the nighttime island had invited us inhabitants of the day into another world. The phone and the radio had been interrupted, and the island was shut off by the typhoon, so you really could call this place another world cut off from the real one by now. Yeah, as this island is now, it's perfectly normal for a witch to send us letters and for human sacrifices to be offered up for the sake of magic circles. So what will happen next? Will some weird people wearing goat masks start doing the Bond Festival dance or something? God, I hope so. That'll be cool. It's hopeless. It's hopeless. I don't get it. The inside of my head's all screwed up, and I don't even know what to think. Me neither. Anger, sadness, the opposing emotions all swirled up together, and they started to suck me in. Unable to resist, I could do nothing but cover my eyes with my hands and trust my mind and body as I started getting sucked in. So kind of going back on the idea that somebody here committed these murders. Yeah, let's think about that with that magic circle. Who would fucking paint that shit? You know? Like, sure, anybody could commit murder. You know? I suppose so. Anybody could probably get away with it here. But to go this far, to do what they did to Natsuhi's door, to do what they did to the shutters of that shed, it doesn't add up as somebody here in this mansion other than Kinzo, or maybe somebody with like really deep connections with black magic and other bullshit as wanting to do this. But from everybody we've met other than Kinzo, nobody fits that bill. As I started losing heart, I began to recall a memory from when I was small. It was from when I was very young. I had unfortunately seen a scary occult movie on TV, and for a while I hadn't been able to go to the bathroom by myself. That old bastard gave an exaggerated laugh and said this.
なあバトラ、どうして悪魔だのオカルトだのっての。連中は変わった感情で心を遊ばせたくて、悪魔だのオカルトだのって文化を作り出したんだよ。
No, that's fair. I can roll with that. Honestly, there was a movie that I watched when I was younger. It's like a cult classic. Shoot, what was it called? Night of the Living Dead or something along those lines. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was a black and white movie, and it had to do with zombies, if you couldn't have guessed. And a whole bunch of people were trapped inside of a house, and yeah, drama, this and that, trying to stay alive or whatever, because if you get bitten, then you're going to turn into a zombie or what have you. And yeah, I don't know if that was necessarily the correct movie, but I remember watching that, and I, being a kid, I was so fucking scared. I was so goddamn scared. And I don't know what my reaction to all of that was, what really stuck with me and like kind of hindered me as a kid for a few days, but that really was fucking scary. And I should probably rewatch that as an adult in order to rewrite some memories here. But you know, we do watch scary movies and stuff because that's entertainment, you know? We're not going in there to torture ourselves. We're going to watch a scary movie or something to entertain ourselves with fear, which is really weird. Seriously, why have I been acting so damn thick-headed? I was totally taken in. Whoa. Don't try to mess with me. This is the human world. I don't give a damn about witches, demons, magic circles, and sacrifices. The human who killed Dad and everyone else is still on this island. That's all there is to it, right? Yeah, 100%. I mean, somebody did it, right? Or something. I mean, I would like to continue to think in the realm of, like, logic here that somebody actually committed murder. Just straight up. But I feel like there might be more to it. The idea of witches and all that, I mean, we haven't seen anything that proves that there's some magical forces going on here. But there is somebody else on this island, supposedly, that gave that letter from Beatrice to Maria, as well as an umbrella, so... The next person who started speaking to my heart was Kirie-san.
チェスや将棋ってね、相手の手を読むことにまで考えが至らない。そういう時はね、チェス盤をひっくり返す。
Yeah. I saw that one coming. With all my strength, I slapped my face with both hands. Now my eyes were truly open. When you don't understand anything, and you're completely cornered just like I am now, isn't that the perfect time to spin the chessboard around? While on the defensive, we can't even guess at the culprit's scheme. If we spin it around and look at it that way, just what might we see? First off, at the time the culprit committed the murders, they knew the island was being cut off by the typhoon. Therefore, they should have understood that even if they carried out the murders, they wouldn't be able to get away early the next morning. In short, the culprit had begun without securing a way to escape. Furthermore, that bastard tossed the corpses in the storehouse, then was even kind enough to say, "Here they are," with that weird bit of graffiti. In other words, since we'd probably find the corpses sooner or later, they wanted to show them to us. If we'd all been dim and hadn't noticed the storage shed, the culprit's goal would not have been achieved, would it? Huh. If you think about it this way, that bastard of a culprit, since this morning, since they must have been watching our every move with bated breath. Yeah, definitely. They're here somewhere. After all, if we hadn't been so kind as to discover what was on the storehouse, all of that hard work and preparation they did last night would have just gone poof. What did the culprit want to make us feel by showing us the corpses in the storehouse? All 6 of the bodies had their faces noticeably destroyed. Was it a grudge? A warning? The defacement of the bodies had occurred after death, so it hadn't been the means by which the culprit had killed. It didn't mean anything to those who had been killed. It did have meaning to those who found the bodies. The culprit wanted to make it appear that they had been killed so brutally. Ha! After thinking this way, I really want to tell that bastard to stop taking me so lightly. Who would just dance to that tune? If you're told, "Please be scared," you can't just say, "Really? Sure thing." When someone tells the great Ushiromiya battler, "The entrance is right here," I'm the kind of guy who will start wanting to sneak in through the window. Well, that's just classic battler right there. The next thing that had me concerned was that so-called magic circle on the shutter. As Maria, who had shown that her knowledge of the occult rivaled grandfather's, had recognized that magic circle was genuine, they must have drawn that thing in pitch black darkness, taking a lot of time and holding an umbrella in one hand. Isn't that amount of hard work and perfectionism impressive? What purpose would have been worth all of that effort? If we were looking for a fan of the occult in this mansion, most likely all of us would naturally suspect grandfather. Did they want to make us think grandfather was involved? But if that's all they wanted, they could have just drawn any old scribble that looked like a magic circle. It wasn't like any of us amateurs would be able to tell the difference between genuine and fake. No, they went the extra mile for this one, and I think that should be highly considered. Like, again, sure, in the real world, no one is going to believe this shit real or not, they're gonna be pissed that people died and they're saying that it was for a sacrifice. No one's gonna buy that shit, and they're gonna be more pissed if that was the case for death. However, this magic circle was genuine, and furthermore, it had even been written in Hebrew. So this magic circle had a message that could only be understood by someone with knowledge of the occult. A message is a form of communication. By sending it, they were hoping for a reaction. A reaction? For some reason, we couldn't find Grandfather now. I don't know how Grandfather might have spotted the magic circle on the shutter, but did he choose to hide himself in reaction to that? No. Was it a trap to make us suspect that Grandfather had participated? You could read it either way. Damn, that's annoying. What kind of reaction was the culprit hoping to get out of us by putting on this occult show? Somehow, that felt like the culprit's weak point. The letter from Beatrice that Maria had read aloud during last night's dinner sprang back into my mind. This was a freak who had asked us to enjoy a battle of wits. Isn't that interesting? This is a battle of wits between us and the witch. Will we be sucked up by her occult game first? Or will we put off her fake skin first? Well, there's a whole day until the typhoon passes. Why not enjoy ourselves? I don't know what to think anymore, guys. As I'm reading this, I'm like, do I want to apply logic to everything, or do I want to jump into the fiction, just straight up believe in whatever? I finally noticed that the inside of the parlor had gone quiet again. Everyone had sunk into their favorite sofas, some deep in thought, some irritated, some acting depressed. Maria was once again enjoying the TV as if she had never left it. It looked like she had found the commercials more fun than the boring program, and she happily yelled ooh ooh and giggled. Classic Maria. I stared at each person's appearance in turn. If there isn't a 19th person, the culprit must be in this room. Well, not all the servants are here. Or are they? No, this is just the group that we've been around here. Natsuhi isn't even here. I would not even suspect Nanjo. Not even. I really don't even know what to say. I don't know what to think. Right now, Aunt Natsuhi is searching the mansion with the servants, right? Then we shouldn't say in this room. Yeah, exactly. In this mansion is where the culprit has to be. Are you sure about that? After all, there was also the possibility that Aunt Natsuhi was behind this, and we still can't deny that one of the servants might be the killer. Anyone could be guilty. Still, Aunt Natsuhi and the rest sure are taking their time. Of course, it's not a small mansion, but isn't this taking a little too long just to walk around checking the windows and doors? Just as I was thinking this, Aunt Natsuhi and the rest returned. None of them was missing, but our relief was short-lived. Everyone looked at Aunt Natsuhi in shock. Wait, what the fuck happened? What happened? The talk I had had with Aunt Ava started to creep back into my mind. The possibility that the culprits had enough in numbers or weapons to kill all of those 6 at once. Oh, the classic, just pull the trigger and do some damage. All right. I don't even have like a quirky little thing to say here or like a joke. It's just there, It's right there. After all, that thing in Aunt Natsuhi's hand was a rifle. At a glance, its silhouette looked a lot like a hunting gun, but it was unusually short and kind of looked like a kid-sized weapon. However, it had a weightiness to it that made it clear that it was no kid's toy. Also, I don't think a gun was used here to commit the murders. Like, that would have been way too loud, and I don't think we saw any gunshot wounds. So there was some other way of killing these people, but again, I do think a lot of people here are capable of committing murder. The question is, how and why, I guess more so.
お父様の古いコレクションの中にあったことを思い出し、探し出してきました。
That man has a little bit of everything, doesn't he?
ひゅー、すっげえ。夏日おばさん、それ本物なんすか？
Yeah, let's find out.
ええ、本物です。実弾を発砲できますよ。昔お父様は野鳥を追い払うのに使ったりしていました。
What a wild way of going about that. What the fuck?
どこから出てきたんやら。私がいくら触らせてって言っても指一本触れさせてくれなかったやつよ。
When I was a kid, my dad would just use a BB gun. That's a full-on fucking gun right there, though. Like that has ammunition of not the BB kind.
じいさま、こんなの持ってたんですか？知らなかったですよ。
お父様は昔西部劇にどっぷり使ってたことがあってね。
This guy really has a lot of interests.
あの世代はこういうライフル銃が大好きなのよ。
結構年季の入った銃のようですね。でもこんな短い仕様のは初めて見ました。
ああ、思い出したわ、その銃。懐かしいな。昔好きやった映画のガンマンが派手にぶっ放しとったやつだわ。お父さんも渋いな。
Yeah, sorry guys, I have no idea what that is.
親方様がだいぶ昔に。ご覧の通り実銃ですので。
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, that's,
ご内密にお願いいたします。
Yeah, this is Japan that we're in, you know, still technically, right? So having a gun is, it's a big no-no, I would say.
手に入れられたばかりの頃は、大層気に入られておりまして、撃つより薬莢を出す動作が面白いらしくて、裏の森でいろいろとかっこつけて遊んでおられたもんですよ。
しかし物騒ね。
Yeah, a little bit.
そんなものまで持ち出しちゃうのかしら。万が一に備えてです。賊はおそらく一人ではないでしょう。しかも主人たちを6人も殺した恐ろしい相手です。私には主人に代わって皆さんを明日まで守る義務がありますので。
As Natsuhi-san said this, she slumped down into one of the sofas and took a deep breath. She had been trying to find grandfather, as well as check the doors and windows. Since grandfather wasn't with her, she probably still didn't know where he was.
屋敷内の戸締まりは厳重に確認してきました。
And I take it everything is good.
ですが、万が一ということもあります。みんな、なるべくここに一緒にいた方がいいでしょう。そうね。ここに全員が集まって相互監視をしている方が安心だわ。それはどういう意味ですか、エヴァさん。別に夏日姉さんの意見に賛成しただけよ。
There was a stormy atmosphere between the two of them. If you think about who was the most suspicious from the inheritance problem standpoint, Aunt Ava was the obvious answer. However, there was no proof that Aunt Natsuhi was innocent. No, if you view Beatrice's letter as one of grandfather's complicated pranks and think of this crime as just an extension of that, there is more than enough reason to suspect even grandfather. Also, Aunt Natsuhi thought the criminal was on the outside, but Aunt Ava thought the criminal was on the inside. In short, it was the question of whether or not a 19th person existed. Or, you know, just more than 18 in general. That same question has been repeated endlessly since last night's dinner, with the letter from the witch who called herself Beatrice. So, was the culprit among us or not? And did the witch Beatrice exist or not? If you assume that something as stupid as a witch can't exist, you're basically saying that one of these relatives here, who share a common bloodline, is the culprit. If that was too unpleasant, it would be much more comfortable to simply accept the fairy tale-like character of the witch. A witch. A witch drawing a bizarre magic circle and offering human sacrifices. If I could accept that rubbish, I'd be able to trust all the people in this room. However, damn common sense got in the way. Damn you, common sense. They kept repeating that witches don't exist. However, this is fiction. And this story here is the lovable thing that we call fiction. And, you know, I do want to think that there is a Beatrice out there, you know, witch or not, And I don't know if there's more witches to be had and what that implies necessarily. But I do feel like there is something afoot that cannot be predicted with logic necessarily. So, you know, fuck common sense. In that case, the culprit must be among us. In the middle of the seemingly endless rain, none of us could break the silence. End of the chapter? Yep. There we go. Gunshots to the glass. Or whatever. Ooh, we're really passing the time. 1 p.m. Oh man, it's gonna be nighttime again before we know it. Occult. That's the name of this one. I'm trying to pay more attention to the titles of the chapters here because it'll give me an idea of what's to come. Even so, I don't even remember the title of the previous chapter. Even so, I said it. Lunch ended, and the servants removed the tableware and went to the kitchen. The wind and rain neither weakened nor strengthened, and the island remained cut off from the outside world. I'm very curious as to why the radio does not work. Like, that's very odd that that's not working. At first, it seemed as though Natsuhi planned to stop anyone from taking a step outside the room, but when it came time to prepare lunch, she finally realized this would be impossible. However, in order to avoid having anyone alone in this kitchen, well, she told the 3 servants to go together. Because of that, the servants were the first ones given the right to leave the stuffy parlor, which had been packed with 11 people. Since breakfast had immediately followed that terrible incident, preventing most of us from eating much, everyone tore into their lunches in silence.
私が洗いますから、源氏さんとカノン君は少し休んでいてくださいな。何か飲みます？
私は結構、カノンは
僕も結構です。
お二人とも早朝から大変だったでしょう。参ってしまうのも仕方ないことですよ。
What an awful situation for everybody, especially the people that are just working here. The only noise was that of Kumasawa washing the dishes, which resounded throughout the kitchen. Genji and Konon sat in some chairs a short distance away, their eyes lightly closed. Just as Kumasawa had said, those two had probably built up a great deal of fatigue. But that didn't mean they could let it show in front of the relatives. Avoiding that was one of their virtues. After the silence had continued for some time, Konon opened his mouth and muttered.
どうしてあんなひどい死に方を。
死に方のことは忘れなさい。ただ、運がなかっただけだ。
Yeah, truly bad luck on everybody who died, you know? Just straight up.
そうですね。ただ、運がなかっただけです。
I don't know about the nothing more than bad luck. I don't know if there was a grudge. I don't know if it was solely because, you know, these were people that were still awake. I really would like to continue to side with that idea. And if that is the case, then yeah, it was probably bad luck. There wasn't necessarily like targets on people, but like specific people, but there was a number or quota that needed to be reached, and boy did they get it. They both fell silent once again. Konon's expression was filled with grief.
シャノンちゃんが死んじゃったなんて。
To think that any of these characters that we've met are actually dead.
未だに信じられませんよ。
Like, we have such a cast of characters here, and the crazy thing here is that we killed off 6 of them. I was thinking, oh, we might lose 1 or 2 over the night or something, like, it's bound to happen or whatever. Kinzo's probably going to kick the bucket. He'll probably be one of the 1 or 2 that, you know, pass away overnight. But no, we got rid of 6.
本当にかわいそうに。もう会えないなんて嘘みたいですよ。もう一度あの子の笑顔が見たかったのに。
No, she was pretty cool. I kind of liked her, to be honest. Well, obviously behind Kumasawa, and who's behind Genji. Kumasawa spoke with her back facing them. After all, Kumasawa hadn't seen Shunon's corpse, so she had no trouble mentioning Shunon's face. When Konon heard those words, it reminded him again of how only half of Shunon's face had been left, and his grieving expression twisted even further.
どうしてベアトリーチェ様はシャノンを。
Ooh, interesting statement.
生贄が欲しかったなら他にも大勢いただろうに。どうして
ただ、運が悪かっただけだ。
Is this what the servants are thinking? that this was Beatrice?
少しの運がたがえば
A sacrifice that she enacted in order for her own freedom? Could that be the
私だ
case?
ったのかもしれないし
I wasn't
お
thinking
前
that
だ
it
っ
would
た
have...
のかもしれない
Sorry, Genji, I really do not mean to, talk over you. I thought you were done talking like 3 times there. But could it actually be a case of Beatrice doing these murders herself in order to work out her freedom? She creates the sacrifices for herself to be free. I wasn't, thinking that because that sounds a little contradictory. I would have thought that somebody had to do the sacrifices in order to free her.
あるいは
Not her specifically doing it for
他の
herself.
誰かだったのかもしれない全ては運命だ
源氏様、奥様の部屋の扉に血のような跡がついていたとおっしゃっていましたね。
Uh-huh.
シャッターに書かれていたのと同じもので。
君の悪い跡だったまるで血のついた指でドアノブを引き抜こうとするかのような
Huh.
部屋扉をかき破ろうとしたのか
But it didn't work.
そんな君の悪い跡だった
And it must have been that charm. I do want to think here that charm actually did something. Since it's now coming from Maria here, who we're seeing is actually very knowledgeable on this wacky shit.
ベアトリーチェ様が奥様の部屋を訪れて、そして扉を開こうとしたけれど開けなかったということでしょうか。
That's what I'm thinking, personally. With that charm that she had set up there, it kind of protected her. But she was also asleep. She went to sleep. So she wasn't one of the few that were still awake. Unless being awake wasn't necessarily what, painted a target on your back that night. Genji thought back to the time that he had seen those traces of blood on the door to Natsuhi's room. With the substance sticking to the door around the doorknob, and the marks of something scratching against the door, it had definitely appeared as though someone had tried to open the door but couldn't.
どうして奥様は生贄を免れたんだ。もし奥様が選ばれてたなら、シャノンは死ななくて済んだのに。
I was actually thinking about this earlier. I wasn't going to bring it up because it, felt stupid, but, let's say that targets were actually predefined. There were set people to die. Shit, it could have been one of the kids, actually. But because of the charm that Battler had received from Maria, and maybe also Maria just being there in the room, everybody there was protected, saved. But there were no scratches at the door or anything like what we see here, so maybe they were never targeted. It could quite literally be that Natsuhi was targeted. If we want to go the murderer definitely wasn't somebody here, this was the work of a witch, then yeah, I mean, we can think that Natsuhi was set to die, and one of the 6 that did die weren't supposed to have. Somebody became a substitute. I didn't want to think that because that sounds a little silly, but you know what? Let's just throw that out there. Why not? Just then, a loud, sharp noise came in from the hall. Both of them turned around, surprised. What is it? Oh, it's Battler. Before any of the servants realized it, Battler was standing in the doorway to the kitchen.
バトラ様、これは失礼いたしました。
Genji-san and Kanun-kun stood up, surprised and hastily bowed. But I didn't care about stuff like that. I was more concerned with continuing their discussion.
便所って言って抜けさせてもらったのさ。ずっとあの部屋に閉じ込められてると窒息しちまいそうだったからな。
Yeah, that doesn't seem like a good time.
水でも飲ませてもらおうかと思ったら、おとぎ話の魔女ってだけじゃなさそうだな。
Yeah, the servants seem to actually have some belief in the idea of the existence in Beatrice, similarly to Kinzo. Kanun-kun averted his gaze. It was obvious that he didn't want to talk about this, which only made me want to ask even more. While making an effort to smile, I grabbed the collar of his shirt.
ゆうべまでなら俺は無関係さ。だがな、今朝からは違う。親父たちを殺された時点で、俺は立派な関係者だ。俺にもそのうさんくさそうな話を聞かせてもらう資格があるはずだぜ。
I glared into Conan's eyes as he continued to avert his gaze in apparent pain. Since there was a big difference in our heights, Kanon had to stand on his toes, and it looked like it hurt a bit.
バトラさん、手を離してやってくださいな。別にカノンさんは隠しているわけではないのです。
じゃあ話してくれたっていいじゃねえか。仲間外れたら寂しいぜ。
When I tried to further twist up his collar, Genji-san cut between us and spoke. In his expression were faint traces that he had made up his mind to do something. Apparently he had no intention of hiding it.
お話しすることはできます。ただ、バトラ様がお気を悪くなされるかもしれませんので。
I mean, I didn't want to think there was any ill will here. It's just, it is quite an interesting one here.
躊躇なんて男らしくねえぜ。内緒にされる方が気持ち悪いさ。聞かせてくれよ。どうせ明日までできることはないんだ。多少はうさんくさい話の方が退屈も紛れるってもんだぜ。
Genji-san and Kanon-kun looked at each other and then nodded as though they had decided to talk.
わかりました。何でもお聞きください。お話しします。
ああ、じゃあ聞くぜ。ベアトリーチェってのは一体何なんだ。俺が知ってる限りではロケン島の森に住まう魔女ってことになってる。森に入ると危ないからってんで。まあ違うのか。
Yeah, there's definitely more to it.
いえ、違いません。その通りです。ベアトリーチェ様はロッケン島の森に住まわれる魔女であらせられます。
バトラ様、にわかには信じられないでしょうが、ベアトリーチェ様は存在するのです。
Wow, yeah, they are in full belief of her.
親方様に莫大な黄金を授け、長いことおそばにお仕えした実在する方なのです。
はあ？よせやいよせやい。じい様の受け売りを言うのも給料のうちだってのか？
They must have seen something or had enough experiences of some otherworldly bullshit that definitely led them to believe that she actually exists. I laughed like it was a joke, but neither Genji-san nor Kanon-kun laughed, not even Kumasawa-ba-chan, who was avoiding my eyes, flustered, and she started washing the dishes. So unfortunately, I was the only one laughing. Painfully, bitterly.
なるほど。そいつは今この島にいるんだな。
はい、いらっしゃっていると思います。
曖昧な言い方だな。
Yeah, he said that she's definitely here, but then he said that he believes she's here.
ってことは昨日今日そいつの顔を見たってわけじゃなさそうだな。
はい。
Really?
大変申し上げがたいのですが、その。
Kanon-kun once again dropped his gaze, avoiding my eyes.
なんだよ、そこで切るなよ。鮮度目みたいで気持ち悪いぜ。
I urged him on jokingly again. However, it looked like Kanon was still confused as to whether he should speak or not. Then Kumasawa-ba-chan whispered and laughed.
お顔を見ようにも、
But
ベアトリーチェ様にはお姿がありませんから。
Ah.
お姿が？なんだって？
よく肖像画の前に佇まれているそうな。
ベアトリーチェ様は時折輝く蝶の姿に身を変えられて現れることがあります。万一お屋敷の中でお見かけした場合には決してその後を追ってはならない決まりです。
Did Shannon try to chase after one of them?
追えば不幸があると囁かれています。
Did she actually try and do that? Because she saw one. I don't remember if she like walked in the direction that she thought it went in.
その金を破り大怪我をして辞めた使用人も実際にいます。
おいおい、マジかよ。あんたら本気でそんな話をしているのかよ。
Oh, I love crazy shit like this.
バトラ様、すでにベアトリーチェ様がお越しになっておられます。そのようなお言葉はよろしくないかと思われます。
ベアトリーチェ様はご自身を冒涜される方を好みません。その存在を疑えば必ずや不幸が降りかかるでしょう。
バトラさん、気持ちの悪いお話とお思いでしょ？
Or completely silly.
ですがね、ベアトリーチェ様はいるんですよ。
But exist with like a huge ass asterisk there.
います。 それを疑われることを。ベアトリーチェ様はことのほか嫌われます。
わかりませんか、バトラ様。ベアトリーチェ様は今すでに。
Oh, this is creepy. This is
おいおい
creepy.
よせよ。俺そういうのは弱いんだぜ。脅しっこなしにしろい。
However, there was no trace of a joke in the eyes of the three servants. On the surface, I laughed and tried to look unconcerned, but I was quickly starting to sober up. Their eyes were also sobering up fast.
バトラさん、お願いですから、ベアトリーチェ様を冒涜することはおやめください。
Hey, Battler wanted to know what they were talking about. He wanted the details, and here we are.
悪いことは申し上げません。
Kumasawa Bachan, who was usually cheerful and would always tease people, now spoke with a totally serious face. I was going to point that out. She's not joking around. She's not doing her little ho 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 or whatever. No, she's being dead serious.
いや、いるって言われてもよ。俺には何も見えないぜ。今、俺の隣にいるとでも言うのかよ。
I mean, her presence could quite literally be in this kitchen. She could be trying to sit right next to me here in this, in my room here, trying to record here with me.
冗談よせやい。
Why'd the screen go black? Ah, bro. What the fuck, dude? Just then, an unnerving laugh suddenly filled the kitchen. Hello, Maria. When I turned... God damn it. When I turned around, Maria was standing there by the entrance. But her expression and the feeling about her, her presence, felt exactly the same as the servants.
波長の合う合わないは生まれつきだよ。
Oh, cool.
バトラは生まれつき波長が合わないタイプなんだよ。だから見えない、会えない、
But Maria
話せない。
definitely can, right? She's got that wavelength. Among other things.
ベアトリーチェの一番嫌いなタイプだよ。
Maria laughed like it was funny, but it sounded extremely eerie. It was almost like she was laughing at me because I alone didn't understand.
ベアトリーチェのことが知りたい？
Yeah, I'm down. I'm fucking down.
ベアトリーチェはね、1000年の魔女なんだよ。
Oh, perfect. Those are the golden numbers right there.
あらゆる悪魔を刺激し、錬金術を極め、賢者の石を生み出し、莫大な黄金を生み出すことができる。おじいさまは彼女と契約することで、後ろ宮家に莫大な富を築いたんだよ。昨日私がベアトリーチェの手紙を読んだでしょ？
Yeah, I think you did, Maria, right? You, specifically, Maria?
あれは本当なんだよ。バトラに信じろと言っても無理な話だろうけど、六感が生まれつきさっぱりみたいだからね。
Well, I think most are born without a trace of a sixth sense. Let's be honest here.
なんだよそれ。魔女？悪魔？そんなの誰に聞いたんだよ。
ベアトリーチェ本人に聞いたんだよ。
What is with that laugh? Maria kept doing that unpleasant laugh. However, the servants who watched over this didn't even blink. She heard it from that witch in the portrait adorning the entrance hall. Maria kept on laughing in a weird voice as though this was nothing more or less than the truth.
マリア、聞くだけ野暮だろうが、もう一回聞くぜ。昨日、マリアにあの手紙を渡したのは誰だ？
Beatrice.
ベアトリーチェにもらったって何度言えばわかるかな？わかんないよね。見えないんだもんね。信じられないもんね。
I mean, it's hard to believe something that just sounds unbelievable, that appears to be something that is so hard to grasp. Just then, Maria's laughter suddenly stopped.
バトラ。
Uh-oh.
まだわかんない？
Yes, we do not understand. I don't even understand.
ベアトリーチェがいるのが。
Okay, that's the same fucking thing that just got told to us by 3 other people.
いるって。どこにさ？
だから、ベアトリーチェがここにいるのが。
Something's gonna scare me. I can already fucking tell. Ah, fuck. That's right. Now that I think about it, I've been feeling for, or I've been feeling for a while now that the servants' eyes haven't been pointed in quite the right direction. I'd figured that they were just staring absent-mindedly, but that wasn't the case. The four here, Genji-san, Kanon-kun, Kumasawa-san, and Maria, everyone except me, was looking at a spot right behind me. That's a lovely feeling. It's like telling somebody like, hey, don't turn around, but there is somebody right behind you, and they've been there for a good while. And unless you turn around, you have no idea of knowing if there actually is somebody behind you. Logic will probably tell you in a lot of cases that, no, nobody's behind me, what the fuck? But you don't know. You don't know. How can you know? Holding my breath tightly, I slowly looked over my shoulder. Of course there wasn't anyone there. I've known that the whole time. However, everyone in the room except me was focusing on that point as if there was someone there.
ベアトリーチェは1000年を生きた偉大な黄金の魔女。
So I've heard.
でも波長の合う人間にしか自分の姿を見せられないし、話しかけられない。だからね、それがとても悲しいんだよ。
Yeah, it appears to be.
だからバトラみたいな生まれつき魔法のセンスもかけらのない人に存在を否定されるのがものすごく嫌いなんだよ。
Is that really our fault though?
バトラは幸運だよ。昨日私にお守りをもらっていてよかったね。
Oh, I'll say.
それを身につけていなかったら今頃ベアトリーチェのどんな呪いが身に及んでいたか分かったものじゃない。本当に幸運なんだよ、バトラは。
Hey Maria, you okay? You okay in there?
ああ、サソリのキーホルダーかよ。あれって安っぽい景品か何かだと思ってたんだが、ちとはご利益あったってことなのか？
Yeah, I'm pretty goddamn sure that protected Natsuhi. She should be dead.
それがなかったら今頃バトラが倉庫の中で顔面を砕かれて生贄にされていたんだよ。幸運だったよ、バトラは。
Oh, I'll say.
そうか、あれがなかったら俺は今頃殺されてたってのか。
なんでバトラはベアトリーチェを信じないの？
It's hard to believe something that you can't fathom.
いるのに代わりに誰か一人が助かっていたかもしれないね。
What the fuck is with this weird ass noise, by the way? It just keeps on going. Like somebody's fucking growling between the walls, groaning and moaning or some shit. But no, I definitely have FOMO. I would definitely want to believe if I had the opportunity to believe in something outrageous. But I would want to, wholeheartedly believe, I don't want to just believe for the sake of, believing. Right then, I burst into laughter. Playing witches had been pretty fun up until a second ago, but unfortunately that last one seemed to be too much for me to gloss over.
じゃあ全然ダメだぜマリア。ってことなら悪いが、全然ダメだ。
When Maria saw me suddenly start laughing, she stopped. Even though she didn't understand what I was laughing at, she realized it wouldn't be pleasant for her.
お前が傷つくだろうと思ったから俺黙ってたけどよ。お前にもらったお守りよ、俺ポケットに入れたつもりだったんだけどよ、どっかに落っことしちまったんだぜ。
Oh shit, we don't even have it? No way.
だから俺が今この瞬間に無事なのはお守りのおかげでもねえし、悪いが俺は自分の目で見たものしか信じねえ。
Okay, then I guess we just need to see something with our own eyes.
第六か波長カノン君たちが信じるのは自由だぜ。だが俺が信じるかどうかは常に俺が自分で決める。
Yeah, there you go.
悪いがこの目で見るまでベアトリーチェなんてうさんくさいものの存在を信じるわけにはいかないぜ。
I gotta say that I really dig the direction that Battler is taking here. It's a very risky one. It could have some pretty crazy reward, but I will say that it is quite the opposite of Chapter 1 Keiichi from Higurashi, where Keiichi really just kind of fell into the pit of, you know, believing in Oyashiro-sama, that there was a curse and that people died due to it, and he started to go crazy because of it, and he didn't know what to think. It was a mix of like everybody was his enemy. Here, Battler is saying like, no, you all are fucking dumb. Unless I see something and are able to properly connect the dots, I'm just going to continue to think with, you know, purely logic and whatever I actually see, you know, clear-minded, big brain, shit like that. Obviously, there's more to it, but I'm trying not to spoil Higurashi if I can get away with it, but as I said in a previous video, I will if need be. I spoke forcefully and sharply, and then Maria started cackling again, as she has been doing like 30 times this entire recording session.
いずれお前のような波長が全然合わない人の目にもベアトリーチェは見えるようになる。
Fine by me.
もうじき
I wanna
蘇
see her.
るんだよ。ベアトリーチェはね。そうしたら一緒にいっぱいお話をしたり遊んだりしようって約束してるんだよ。疑う必要も無理に信じる必要も全くない。現れるんだよ。
Hey, again, fine by me. 1,000 years old, I'm sure she looks great. I'm ready to see her. And I swear to God, if she looks exactly as she does in that portrait, well, man. I don't really know where I'm going with that, but I think we'll wrap it up here. I think that's a pretty good stopping area. Oh, that was a great scene. This was a good recording session. I love this one. Anything new in the character sheet here? I doubt it. I didn't hear anything, so I think everything is relatively the same. However, I want to revisit this. I want to revisit the lines that got added on, like the single sentence lines that got added on to the end of everybody's, I don't know, their bios, whatever you want to fucking call it. I don't know if this is Maria's perspective, Beatrice's perspective, what these are, but I want to reread them real quick. So then we can end this recording session off and we'll, you know, just, I'll continue to ponder shit, I suppose. We start where it all begins with Kraus. Technically, yes, that makes sense. We have Rudolph. He has the right to lament his ill fortune. Okay, can't really connect the dots there. She was chosen by the demon's roulette. That's all there is to it. Does that mean that she was just unlucky? That she wasn't supposed to be one of the ones to die? I don't know about that one. I'll be seeing her again, so I'm not lonely. This kind of gives me the idea that, yeah, this is Maria, you know, that actually is saying these things. This is from her perspective here in these lines. But I don't know. That's also a very odd one. Maria's is still, you know, normal. Nothing new with her little bio there. So Shannon, don't worry, everyone will be revived in the Golden Land. Don't worry. Huh. And Goda, how unfortunate. Apparently he was supposed to be on duty in the guest house. This one just kind of seems like it was kind of poking fun at him, you know? I don't really know what to think of those, to be perfectly honest with you guys. I really don't. Nothing new here as far as I can tell. So I guess we'll save it and we'll go it again in the next one. This was such a fun one, honestly. Guys, I'm having so much fun, I do have to say. Well, anyways, thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed. If you did, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, all that fancy jazz, and I will see you all in the next one. Take it easy.